which leaves us with 94 days to go. Can you believe it? Just like that, the year is flipping towards the end. It is Tuesday, the 28th of September, 2021, and this is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and welcome to a brand new day. Of course, with brand new people in brand new clothes. I'm here with my colleagues. Good morning to you, Felix Nkunda.
Good morning, Priscilla.
How
are you?
Very well.
So, is a challenge of greeting in another language still going on? Probably today we should go out of Uganda.
Out of Uganda, you only have French and Italian. Yeah, those are the only other languages you have.
You will be surprised.
The rest you're going to cook us, which we will not allow
to be
this
cooked.
morning.
But anyway, good morning. How are you? I must say I love your blazer.
Thank you very much.
So beautiful, I must say.
Merci beaucoup.
Yes. But of course, also to you all our viewers, good morning to you all. Thank you so much for again waking up with us, and you're starting your day with Good Morning Uganda. Definitely you will not be disappointed.
And we also do have Robert Kirabo, who is with us this morning. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, Priscilla.
How are you?
I'm very fine. It is a brand new day, and of course it gives us an opportunity to restart life. What could have failed yesterday, you still have another day to give it another trial. With 94 days remaining to end the year, you must expedite the pace at which you're doing things.
I like that. And we also do have Molen Kenyana joining us all the way from the western part of Uganda. Good morning to you, Molen.
From the what?
From the western.
Live from Chikezi.
Okay, I'll put a pause on that. But yes, a very good morning to you, and also a lovely family that is Good Morning Uganda family. A very good morning to you. I hope you're also starting it off with a smile. But if not, we're going to make sure we can put a smile on your faces. Well, I know a few lines on how to greet. I do know French. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I could just.
Bonjour.
Can I challenge you in French?
Yes.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Tu fais quoi?
What?
Tu fais quoi?
No.
Okay, that is where his French
I am marking, I guess. I am.
The teacher is marking.
Okay.
Because what she's saying, I've never heard of. I didn't ever learn.
Tu fais quoi? Like, what are you doing?
Really?
Yeah.
I am doing what you're saying.
Oh, so you should have like.
Okay. All right. As
we'll work on your French later.
We were having a conversation here, and I just wanted to engage my colleagues in this recent conversation. A friend of mine.
Yesterday,
you know the friend. A friend of ours. So this friend of ours, who is a married man, went ahead and celebrated another man's woman on his status yesterday, wishing her a happy birthday, posted her picture, and even said happy on this special day, a special person is born.
In my special heart.
My special heart. And yet it is some other person's wife. Meanwhile, remember that statuses are publicly viewed, especially by our significant others. And so, as of this morning, he may end up being in the Segirinya kind of situation if he's not careful.
Last night that happened, actually.
But have we factored out other stuff? Maybe this woman is related to the guy he's celebrating. Maybe they're just very good friends.
Okay.
Probably there is some kind of connection that is not what you guys think.
I want
to be in the shoes of the guy who says, it's not what you think, it's not what you think.
I believe the council in this place is going to ensure that it protects the victim or suspect. I don't even know.
So counsel, how would you advise such people? Because it's just an example, but you know, men tend to think that it doesn't hurt. It won't make as much damage. I'm just wishing another person a happy birthday. There's no harm in that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I know that when somebody commits to you, they commit to you against the whole world, and the first step is for you to embrace that. And to respect that. Now, for everything you do against them, or you may think, like what you said, I mean, it's just a friend, like what Molly was saying, maybe. All those maybes hurt that person. Because if they chose you mid-Islamic, sort of like from the whole world, it means everything you do, you must keep in mind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the point? Even when you want to buy shoes, you must sort of like think like, "Ah, but will my woman love this mess, like this shoe? Will she love this tie? Will he love this bag? Will he? Because at the end of the day, you people chose yourselves out of the entire world. So
But
I think it matters.
it only becomes a problem if this guy did not explain to the wife that, guess what, this is my
You see,
friend,
by
a
the
very
time-
good friend of
by the
mine.
time you
it's
have
her
to
birthday and I'm
explain what
celebrating
There's something
her.
wrong.
Then that is already
There's something wrong. It's an indicator.
But for me,
it should be consumable the way it is without explanation.
Robert, you
Yeah, but
could
it's
just
her
listen.
birthday. It's her birthday, and
what's
he
wrong?
is
What's
he
wrong?
is
What's
he
wrong
is
with
trying to
someone?
express.
Thank you, Mole.
concern,
Let's
you know?
hear from Robert here.
Really?
For me, I believe when you love someone, you should trust them enough. And if, for example, someone went on his status and said, "Happy birthday to my neighbor's wife. On this special day, a special person was born."
First of all, even Mwami
That's
neighbor
also
alone
spoiling.
can
Neighbor's
come
wife.
And you
for
see your neighbors, your friends.
On what account are you posting my
Who told
wife
the
on your
neighbor is for the whole
status?
Chisaka?
Oh.
I mean the wife. Oh.
You know, your friends.
Please continue.
So you're
that-
wishing
that-
someone happy birthday on this special day. A special family friend was born. Happy
And
birthday.
funny
to my
thing about men,
Hey.
he couldn't have wished those things to the wife.
Exactly. He didn't even post her on his own
That
status.
far, he didn't say
Yeah.
those things. Special.
Robert just
You get the
reminded me,
point.
like when you say my neighbor's wife, sometimes being a neighbor to someone does not by default make you a friend. So it's okay to just be neighbors and not
Yeah,
friends.
but when you're friends,
if-
it's okay.
But
when
you
you're
see,
friends.
Yeah, but by the time your
and
partner
me
doesn't
may
know
be
that you're friends,
but
then
my husband may not be okay with us being friends. Those are two different
Yeah.
things.
But anyway, for me, let me just also
Kotia
ask
Maka.
Robert, probably, and whoever is watching. That is, or let me just say, not even ask, that is a very disrespectful move. In Uganda, we say it's kamanyido. And what you try to make it look like understanding, trust, it has nothing to do with trust, it has nothing to do with understanding. It is totally an embarrassment. You can imagine, what does that woman you wish birthday to feel? Even she starts to feel small, like even she may be annoyed herself. You think you're doing her good, and she's like, now, I want to give you an example. Do you remember what happened when Kanye West went and took the microphone from, was it, what was the lady? Is it?
Kim Kardashian?
No. Like it was, and she took the mic. They had given an award. Then she was like, "No, this award should have gone to Beyonce. Beyonce is the best person." And everyone was
Oh,
like,
yes.
"Okay,
Yes.
Why are you fighting a war that is not yours?
Yeah.
That is not your place to wish her birthday. It's not even your business. Even if she was your friend, you can say that not
In
publicly."
person, you pick up a call and deliver the
I
message.
think so. I think
Yeah.
that wasn't modest of you. And but don't worry, there will be payback time.
Okay, all right. So, dear people, please be careful. While
I
you're
know there'll
posting
be
these things
payback
on
time.
your statuses, they are either hurting someone else or giving ideas to other people. Because now, imagine that guy's wife tomorrow will post some other guy, and then the husband will throw a tantrum, and he thinks he will have a right to throw a tantrum. So it's really a matter of morality and the level of respect we should be having for our significant others if we're going to have
Our
fruitful,
partners.
bearing relationships. But speaking of relationships, thank you so much for always being with us here on Good Morning Uganda. As we start off the day, we do have a lot in store for you this Tuesday morning. And on our Good Morning Uganda agenda, what are we looking at, Robert?
We are going to be looking at reopening of schools, looking at the teacher's perspective, most from private schools.
Okay.
How prepared are they? How willing are they to embrace vaccination? What are the challenges they have faced? So all from the teacher's eye is what you're going to be focusing on.
All right, which gives them 3 months to prepare. Ample time. Felix Nkunda, in our newsreel this morning, what are we focusing on?
Well, of course, we will be able to have speech about, again, the issue of COVID and the drive and how we can be able to enhance so we can have a much easier way to open up as the president came to promise, because now the doses are here. But of course, people are still a bit staggery, as the president normally says.
All right, but there was a photo of a guy in the bar. Give me 1 shot of tequila, 2 shots of
The jab?
No, one shot of tequila, 2 shots of something, and then 2 shots of AstraZeneca. I was like, yeah, these
actually,
people can
actually the
drive
campaign,
home.
yeah, the campaign has been going to bars now, and they're saying 1 beer, 1 jab.
Just station a vaccination point to entrance of bars, and be very clear that you must have a jab for you to enter. I guarantee you, you don't know how fast this exercise goes.
Actually,
But
me as
the medics
Felix
okay
team,
with that because the
the
jab might
medics will be
actually.
fine. The medics will be fine.
We don't have.
You don't mix alcohol with medicine. There is
So you-
a line there that doesn't need to be crossed.
For clarity's sake,
Alcohol
it's not
decide
really
medicine.
medics who do the jabbing. Yeah, they do train people within the communities to help them because it's a big exercise, it's a daily exercise, and so they train particular people to be able to administer these jabs. More in Kenyana, what do we have today?
Well, we did look at animals, some of the species that are at risk of extinction yesterday, but today we want to continue the story and look at the insects. They do have a huge coordination with our biodiversity. So
Insects.
they are disappearing. Yeah, we have some species that are disappearing. We'll be diving in and look at that
So,
report in
Molen,
details.
do you know the parts of an insect?
Oh yeah, I
Do you
do.
remember them?
Yes.
How many parts?
We want. I'm just going to say the easy one, so they are like 3.
Molen.
Like 3. Don't put my biology on the line
test.
here. I did my biology.
The head.
Guess what? Took it up to HSC.
The head, the
But
body, the legs.
You see,
no,
you see
that's-
someone who did
there is,
the...
there is the abdomen.
It's called what? Long trade slave. Long
Distance.
slave.
No.
Okay.
Long distance
Abdomen.
trading.
Yeah,
Very
Kirabo.
simple.
Head.
So what?
Head, thorax, abdomen.
Abdo what?
Abdomen.
Abdomen.
Yes.
But actually, for me, Priscilla, just slightly, I was thinking if these guys could increase the stake and say maybe a bucket and a jab, that would make it quicker. We could have people vaccinated
Much,
in
much
the bars,
faster.
yeah,
Okay.
than 1 beer.
All right.
You
Okay.
remind me, we once had
yeah.
a plague in Uganda
up
and
the
it was being
stakes
caused
and-
by rats. Remember, Felix? Have you read of that? So the king then offered that if you take a tail of a rat, there was a gift being given. And in a short time, this kaum, whatever, had gone because there was a reward.
All right.
So people take these tails and
It's a pity that we have to get to the extent of rewarding. There's a company I saw yesterday
good
that,
thing.
yeah, if you go and get the job from their company, you stand a chance of winning some money. Can you believe that?
That's a good thing,
Is
Priscilla.
that why we're rich sincerely?
That's
For
good
your
corporate
own health.
governance, yeah.
Anyway, the point is wear your mask, sanitize, social distance, and go for your 2 jabs. That's the biggest message that we want to leave with you out of this whole conversation. But on to the stories that made headlines in the last 24 hours, locally, internationally, and also in regards to nature, weather, and climate. But starting off with the local stories.
And we'll begin with the memorial lecture of Bendikito Chiwanuka, who was the first Chief Justice and Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, that was held yesterday at the Judiciary headquarters. The chief guest, President Yoweri Museveni, promised to analyze the judiciary concern of granting bail to suspects with capital offences, which he said needs amendment. According to President Museveni, granting bail to such suspects is a provocation of the victims and to Ugandans, which he says will soon be addressed. President Museveni communicated this during the 4th memorial lecture of the late Chief Justice Bendikito Chiwanuka at the function which was held at the judicial headquarters in Kampala. The judiciary commemorated the 4th memorial lecture of the first Chief Justice and Prime Minister. The late Chiwanuka was murdered by Idi Amin security operatives in 1972. However, to date, where the remains of his body were dumped is not yet known to either the family or the general public, a matter that has remained a pain to the family and the legal fraternity. The function in memory of him was held scientifically at the premises of Uganda's Temple of Justice in Kampala under the theme Administration and Delivery of Justice in Uganda Through the Years, and was graced by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda.
Uganda Police has directed all its territorial commanders to re-intensify the enforcement of anti-corona rules, especially curfew. The police spokesperson, Fred Nkunda, has expressed laxity of the commanders and the public, which may drive the country into another terrible dilemma of the pandemic. Since the lifting of the lockdown, the public has gone reluctant against the observancy of the standard operating procedures. The recent presidential address, though, relaxed the lockdown on religious institutions and post-academic institutions. Police is finding it difficult to supervise 200 numbers recommended in those places of worship. Police has also directed its territorial commanders to step up the operations against motorists and cyclists who have normalized the situation. The police is operating in the situation of no clear fine system, where the Ministry of Finance declined to provide a clear statutory financial framework of fining culprits as directed by the President last year against those found on the wrong side of the law. In different operations, police have encountered misuse of ambulances while transporting people beyond curfew, especially those from bars.
As we wait for the fines, sometimes police have the fines for those caught. While away from that, we look at Segirinya's case, where the International Crimes Division in Kororo finally granted bail to Kawempe North Member of Parliament Muhammad Segirinya after producing substantial sureties to replace Mitiyana Municipality MP Francis Zake Utebo, who failed to meet court's necessity to stand for his safety. The MP for Ntenjeru South, Patrick Nsanja, replaced MP Francis Zake by standing as surety to MP Muhammad Segirinya. Muhammad Segirinya and Alan Sewanyana are facing charges of murder and attempted murder, although they all pleaded not guilty to all the alleged offenses. Last week, the presiding magistrate of the International Crimes Division, Susan Okalani, declined to grant bail to Kawempe North Member of Parliament Muhammad Segirinya, although she was pleased to release his co-accused Alan Sewanyana on bail after meeting court necessity. MP Francis Zake, who had stood surety for Kawempe North Member of Parliament Muhammad Segirinya, failed to show up in court as fourth surety to the accused. Following the absence of MP Zake to offer surety, Magistrate Susan Okalani asked Segirinya to bring another surety if possible for court to grant him bail. However, shortly upon his release, Segirinya was again rearrested on other charges as investigations continue.
And finally, Chambogo University is set to recover over 60 acres of land which has for long been lost to squatters. This follows Buganda Land Board's pronouncement that the land in question is not part of the Kawaka's land, but rather a public land which belongs to Chambogo University. Over 300 families which had for long settled in the part of Chambogo land will now wait for a decision on how to vacate the premises, which will be announced on a later date. After several attempts to end the long unsettled land dispute at Chambogo University, the Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, forwarded the matter to the State House Anti-Corruption Unit to ascertain the grievances on the land in question. Colonel Edith Nakarema, the head of State House Anti-Corruption Unit, paid attention to the detail and engaged the relevant stakeholders, including the claimants. On visiting the locus, the first petitioner to jump out of the sequence was Kampala District Land Board, which was claiming over 60 acres of Chambogo University land.
Well, now, having had a listen to the local stories, we will cross over into our international stories. And the first story, we'll be looking at Robert Kelly, found guilty in sex trafficking trial. Now, US singer R. Kelly has been found guilty of exploiting his superstar status to run a scheme to sexually abuse women and children over 2 decades. Now, 11 accusers, 9 women and 2 men, took the stand over the searing 6-week trial to describe sexual humiliation and violence at his hands. Now, after 2 days of deliberation, the jury found Kelly guilty on all charges and he was facing. Now, sentencing him to 4 May, and he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. Now, the jury found R. Kelly, whose full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, was a ringleader of a violent and coercive scheme that lured women and children from him to sexually abuse. Now, the singer most famous for the award-winning song I Believe I Can Fly was also found to have trafficked women between different US states and produced children pornography. Along with 8 counts of sex trafficking, Kelly was also found guilty of racketeering, a charge normally used against organized crime associations. Still in other stories, now women of color in US still face greater barriers at work, report comes out to say, and women who work in the United States of America are more banned out of they were actually ago. Now, while commitment to advance diversity, equity, inclusion are not translations into the better experience at work for women of color. A report published on Monday finds that McKinsey, a company and Lean organization's 7th annual report on women in workplaces, examined data from at least 423 major US companies, surveyed more than at least 65,000 employees, and conducted interviews with people from diverse backgrounds to take stock of how American women are faring more than a year and a half into the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the report found that the gap is in burnout between women and men in nearly doubled over the past years, as in persons in workplace, and of course the paradigm continue to be independent, and of course the evidence that women of color have been inflicted pain onto are also misregarded, but also the lack of enough opportunities in the world they struggle to fit in. Well, now crossing back to Africa, dozens died after deadly attack in northeast Nigeria, and dozens of people were killed in 3 separate attacks in different states of northern Nigeria. In the northwest state of Kaduna, at least 34 people were killed and 7 wounded after gunmen attacked a village there. Identified gunmen attacked Madamia village in Kura. 34 residents have been confirmed dead following the attack, and 7 others sustained injuries. And of course, the State Security Commissioner Samuel Arwen said on Monday later on that, adding, the attack took place late Sunday. Troops came under fire before forcing the assailants to withdraw after an intense exchange, he also said.
Well, in the world of nature, we look at triple jeopardy as children face darker future of climate disasters. A child born in 2021 will live on an average through 7 times as many heat waves, twice as many wildfires, and nearly thrice as many droughts, crop failures, and river floods as their grandparents. That is according to a study released Sunday that looks at how different generations will be affected by climate change. The results published in the Science Journal found that global warming will disproportionately affect the lives of young people and children, particularly when it comes to extreme events worsened by climate change. The research is the first to extensively model extreme weather events and future climate scenarios, and to apply the projections across demographic groups to quantify how people in different age groups around the world will experience climate disasters across their lifetimes. The outlook is troubling if the pace of global warming continues unchecked, said Wim Thierry, a climate scientist at Vrije University, Brussels in Belgium, who led the research. We found that everyone under 40 today will live an unprecedented life in terms of their lifetime exposure to heat waves, droughts, and floods, Thierry said. This is true even under the most conservative scenarios. Now, the study shows that stark intergenerational inequalities across the board, but the researchers said climate change will affect children in developing countries even more acutely, and the burden will remain disproportionate even with the cuts in greenhouse gas emissions that countries have pledged under the Paris Agreement, a global climate pact signed by more than 190 countries. Well, the report comes out at a good time when we are looking at the upcoming conference in UK that is going to stress this agreement on climate change, we are putting our children in danger. That means the effects they will get after this will be doubled and tripled, and it's something we should all be sad about. Yeah.
It's very, very sad.
Yeah.
But of course, away from that, I just want to, how many of you find, like, once in a while I go onto my phone and I'm scrolling through people's statuses, and you know, the way people think about life is so beautiful. Like, for you here hustling with thoughts about what money, people are there just posting whatever they want. Now, someone
memes.
yesterday, exactly, and I know someone who posts memes and is part of us. I don't know if you know that person.
Memes are good.
That
I
is
think
the person actually. So one of the memes that I read was saying that some of you are complaining about people who don't hear why people take lots of alcohol. Then the other guy was saying, when I get the kubuji, who has talked about it?
Leave our alcohol alone. We don't talk about
Yeah, you focus on your porridge.
That's a good one.
And that made me thinking about one of our workmates, the long man.
Yeah.
How he complains, and people like, the way he loves warm water and his cup and whatnot. One day
have your warm water and we have our beers.
I tell you.
Okay, let's take a look at our poll question this morning as we kickstart the day for you. We also want to engage your mind in some of the things that concern fellow Ugandans.
And of course, our poll question is, how can private sector be engaged more in vaccination drive? How can the private sector be engaged more in the vaccination drive? And please be able to share with us your true thoughts, your sentiments, your opinions. And this you can do through our Twitter handle, that is #UBCGMU, our WhatsApp number 0709602592, and of course on Facebook also, UBC TV Uganda, again even on YouTube. Now this question springs from the fact that most recently we're seeing private actors come be a part of the drive of vaccination. Probably this is in a bid for us to hit the mark of over 4 million people, so we can be able to have our economy up and running and open. Do not please forget to share your true sentiments about this. What can the private sector do to be a part of the vaccination drive?
All right, well, continue taking your cup of tea with us here in Good Morning Uganda. As we step into the 7 o'clock hour, we leave you with a song for the day. Stay tuned.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
weekly in the 5 for 5 jackpot. Simply download the Center mobile app. Click Center on the go to open your account online. Transact 5 times or more using Center Mobile, Center Visa, and Center Agent to stand a chance to win. The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. So, participate in the 5 for 5 jackpot and win millions in daily and weekly prizes. The 5 for 5 jackpot is brought to you by Centenary Bank. Our bank, Centenary Bank, is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly. Until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV Valley. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It is our newsreel, 5 minutes past 7 a.m. this morning as we continue on to Tuesday, the 28th of September, 2021. Just to remind you, you have 94 days left of this calendar year to be able to summarize, finish up and put final touches to everything that you had committed to do in the year 2020. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and may I say good morning to you that has just joined us on Good Morning Uganda. I am alongside Robert Kirabo and Felix Nkunda. As we get into our newsreel, we want to first rewind to our poll question this morning. We want to pick your minds in regards to the poll for the day and find out what your views are on it.
Now, how can private sector be engaged more in the vaccination drive? How can the private sector be engaged more in the vaccination drive? Again, be able to share the same on our Twitter page. That is hashtag UBCGMU, WhatsApp 0709 60 25 92, Facebook UBC TV Uganda, and of course on our YouTube channel as well.
Well, if I may ask a breakdown of the private sector in this regard.
Yeah, basically we're looking at entities that are not government related. We're not looking at corporations, authorities. We're looking at basically SMEs and corporate entities. Probably one could give examples of probably insurance companies, the Prudentials, Jubilees, companies like SMEs, SMES, all these companies that form up themselves away from government confers that are not directly linked to government. They have a role. We're saying what can they do, how can they contribute to this vaccination drive that is probably most recent. Previously, we didn't have drugs, rather vaccines. And now that they're here, how do we be able to be a part of all this kind of thing?
Okay, we continue here on the news, really looking at more or less the same discussion point regarding the vaccination drive under COVID-19. The president did give an update regarding the state of COVID-19 here for us in Uganda. He also did permit partial uplifting of lockdowns of particular sectors, and the aim is that by the end of the year 2021, we should have a population of close to 4.8 million Ugandans fully vaccinated. And that means 2 jabs for the vaccines that are available on our Ugandan market. And basically this morning we want to see how these drives are taking place, how are they shaping up countrywide. We do have 2 particular vaccination drives that are imminent right now. One is the teachers' vaccination, and looking at the update that is being given by the Ministry of Education in that regard, teaching staff who have received their first dose of COVID-19 vaccination has now increased from 2,069 and 269,445 in the last 7 days, and now it is at 209,000 196,614 teachers that have gotten their first dose, and that is as of 27 September yesterday. The second dose recipients stand at 102,418 teachers that have so far gotten their second dose, which is an impressive move, if we can call it that. Yesterday, I saw one of the leaders coming out to say, especially for public teachers, that if they don't go for their vaccination, trust you me, they will not be getting their October salaries. What do you make of this drive, this pressure to get the teachers vaccinated, Kirabo?
Well, for me, I look at an angle of a mistake in the first place. Yes, we need people to be vaccinated. We need teachers to be vaccinated. But if people don't know why it should be a must, if your campaign is not tailored to purpose, but more tailored to conditions, then you may not get full results out of it. That is the biggest change. That even when you want to, because we are coercing, we are forcing, we are moving a campaign, no jab, no job. Now we are having no jab, no salary. Yet what should be basic should be, maybe we brand a campaign, save your life and your students. That would maybe sound better in the ears of a teacher, because teachers are passionate about
appeal to the moral fiber of the society.
Yeah, so because force has failed, I'll give you a brief campaign here. In our country, it is illegal to ride a motorcycle without a helmet. It's a condition, because we know that any part of your body, if you develop a fracture, then it can, you know, but the head, the brain, there's not much they can do. But you find that people will purchase helmets. A person will go, the cheapest maybe could be 70,000. Buy it, a border rider, and he's not putting it on. When they see a police officer, they put it on. So how do we tailor make a message that is appealing to various sectors, even to the drunkards, you know? Even you packaging, but coerciveness may not work.
All right.
Then second, how do you make this available? Availability of these drugs. Yesterday I saw what happened in some of the centers here in Kampala. People were there by morning. By 2 p.m., Chambogo here, no single vaccine had arrived. People are queuing up, some are going away. So package properly, avail the vaccine to people, and this coercion may not work. Others will find way of dodging, and then that's where you're going to find people forge vaccination cards, because they don't know that it's important for them to protect them. But since it's a condition, I'll go to NASA, they'll go to somewhere and come out with something just to overrun the system.
Okay, as of yesterday, you did have the National Medical Store dispatching vaccines, Pfizer vaccines, to the districts of within Kampala, Mukono, and also Wakiso to be able to support the vaccination drive. They are focusing on teachers and children, of course. Those are on the priority group now as we are looking at the reopening of the education sector. But let's look at the role, at the supporting role of the different stakeholders in this vaccination drive. We do have the Ministry of Health, you do have the private sector, you do have society, you also do have companies that can come in and do something about it. You also do have government. Each of these has an independent role that they must play in ensuring that we hit the target of the 4.8 million Ugandan vaccinated fully by the end of the year 2021. Felix, in your assessment, how can we actually have these different stakeholders meet and contribute their part of the bargain to get the target done?
Yeah, well, and I must appreciate even that topic in its own self, and how you said it, that how can we cause this whole drive to be inclusive? Between you and me, you would realize that every man has an sort of like a chain effect onto the activities of the other. And if I may give an example, even if there be someone selling food in the market, that effect goes up to the head of state. That effect goes up to a judge somewhere, if you want to say. It goes up to a member of parliament, it goes up to an officer, it goes up to, it goes, and it goes. And that's how life is. Every activity I do somehow will work towards you or yours towards me. And that's why when you talk about inclusion, it's very important. I want to say that I think there was something we missed from the beginning, and I wouldn't want to blame anyone for it. Probably no one envisaged, because 3-4 months ago, everything they were telling us from the ministry was that we don't know where to get the drugs. Even when we go to buy, they're not drugs. Probably it would have been much easier if we knew. We would have planned better. But the challenge is sustainability must be able to prove, for it to grow or to exist, you must prove inclusion. And I think today we must be able to take the bitter pill of inclusion. We must include the relevant stakeholders in this drive.
To the
as
end
Robert
user.
said. Yes, as Robert said, it is not a matter of throwing conditions around. Include people, and that's why I think something we said even the other week, that let us not look at this vaccination as an opportunity for us to throw around power, authority. Then we would have bastardized the whole process. Let us look at it as an opportunity to create awareness and also build solidarity towards growth. Because Robert has said, when you have school and teachers, how do you approach that? Away from no job, no job. Now salary, as you said. It is not. Is that enough? Okay, it's been used. Let's say it's been tried. How far has it gotten us?
Because in case those that honestly may not be ready to take their jobs will opt for alternative jobs.
If they can,
which will cause the
they will lie.
Yeah.
Not even opting for alternative jobs. We've seen Ugandans forge certificates at all levels. We've seen corruption going at all levels. We've run a story where Enanga says review curfew. I want to tell you, Ugandans, when you put a condition, they have, do we call them meter bypassers?
I think it's human nature.
Human nature. It's not really Ugandans, it's human nature.
And you'll find that they'll find ways that then will derail what you want to achieve.
Please note you're a fellow Ugandan. Yes, Felix, continue.
I'm not in that category. For me, I took my first job.
He's a meter bypasser, but anyway.
I'm going for my second job on the 1st of October.
But let me say this, Robert. As Priscilla talks about inclusion, we must then enhance a move towards approaching singled out institutions. Like something you mentioned, if we can make a categorical approach to this whole issue of vaccination, we have the banking sector, quite a big sector. Where are they on this drive? Why isn't the ministry engaging them? Those are some of the people who employ very big, huge numbers. In terms of, by the way, clientele and the employees, you can look at it that way. You get it.
And they support the private sector to a large extent.
So much. You go to these other SMEs, very many, and the records are there. Go to corporate companies, the MTNs of this world, the Airtels of this world, the breweries, the Price Water, all these. Where are they? Engage.
The breweries have done their part. They provided oxygen.
Yes, they've been proactive. They have been proactive.
You know, they've been proactive.
But you may also want now to go into support associations like the Rotary, the Lions Club, some of these scouts, the Girl Guides, you know. We have the Mothers Union, is it, from the Protestant side? The Fathers Union. All of these ones, why don't we bring them on board? Churches want to be open. Like the whole of last weekend, if you noticed, almost every church was talking about, please go and get vaccinated. How about we bring, because they have shown goodwill, let us bring them on board. Instead of saying, the ministry or the KCC has shown where they will be vaccinating from.
A decree.
Chinawa, Sisajja, Simai, Masajja, Masanafu. It brings these people on board. They are the ones, you ask, for example, Church of Uganda, Namirembe, the right.
While your input is actually very true, how or who is supposed to bring that engagement to ground?
It must come from the major stakeholder, the primary, who is the government. In as much as you may want, there must be sort of like an MOU, but there is a higher party, because And what places the higher party in that position is the core mandate, because it is the mandate of government later on to make sure people are vaccinated. Because you for yourself, you may not, you may make the offer, but you may not be able to be successful if there's no goodwill from this party, because the vaccines are in their confines. You cannot negotiate for them easily on international market.
You can't go as a church to say that, okay, give us every Sunday, give us 1,000 doses to be able to.
But I can tell you for a fact, if they go this way, within just a month, you'll see tremendous change. Make associations, memorandums with churches, make with these support associations like Rotary, the Lions Club, the Girl Guides, the Scouts, go to these universities, go to schools individually instead of generalizing things. And you don't need manpower. Just tell them to provide for that.
What Felix is saying, this is not about vaccination, but it's in the field of health. If you look at how government has brought people on board and organizations in terms of blood donation, you see blood campaigns. That as people are celebrating maybe 5 years, an organization is celebrating 20 years. One of the things they do is, it's part of their activities. You see they go to a church, they'll go to a school. That is how we've managed to ensure that we have blood in our hospitals. Because there is a way government brought it closer to people. It partnered, it involved people. So now people just know that, okay, we are going to celebrate something. Why don't we save a life? And even hear their message, save a life, donate blood. So there is a way it's appealing to people.
While we wait for that to actually mature, there's the fact that these are all still stakeholders, and in their different capacities, they still have roles to play. And they have maybe relaxed on some of these roles that they're meant to be playing, to enable the vaccination campaign drive actually meet its target. And what are some of those laxities that we are seeing?
Before I come to that, Priscilla, just give me a minute to address the nation with a message on vaccination. Just a minute. Because I really feel this is important, why people should know why they should get vaccinated. Very briefly, fellow Ugandans, I come to you requesting you please go for vaccination. This is going to save you, your loved ones, and those around you and the country. Because we shall not have severe illness, we shall not have hospitalization, we shall not have death. All these affect us in one way or the other. So save your family, save yourself, save your community, secure the future of your children and loved ones by getting vaccinated. Some of the gaps that we've not really taken, first and foremost, has been lack of proper sensitization. I feel up to today, there are so many people who are really not knowing why they should get vaccinated, the benefits of vaccination in this country. Second, availability. The vaccines are maybe in the national medical stores, but to what extent have we ensured that maybe a number of points are there where people can get these vaccines? We have changes of manpower.
The number of points are there. The challenge has been the delivery of those vaccines to those number of points.
So also that makes it a problem. Human resource, where you have very few people to carry out this. But also, one thing I believe that we've not seriously also addressed as people leading this campaign is ensuring that availability, also ensuring that we have the vaccines there. We've not really gotten ambassadors. You know, most of these campaigns we've had, I'll give the HIV/AIDS Remember campaign. We had what they called like brand ambassadors, so that were very appealing. At one time we had the Kirabo of Buganda, I think is still, regarding HIV/AIDS and all that, the sickle cells. So we are lacking people that speak out of government, and we can give them this specific. We have the likes in the, for example, the artists in the performing arts. If you can have a voice there, that this person is on to this. If you go to culture, if you go to religion, so we lack these models, people that are really there to push this. I think it's still so much with the ministry, the ministry. So we need to loosen. We need to have more ambassadors for this vaccination, because what is happening, the bad message, the misleading messages are traveling so fast. than the good in the vaccination exercise.
Speaking of which, vaccination hesitation is actually also affecting the rollout campaign. The right information is out there, but the spread also of wrong information seems to be spreading like wildfire vis-a-vis the bigger truth or the better picture about the vaccination drive, which again is affecting the number of people that are willingly able to come through and get the vaccines. Felix.
Yeah, and I think that should be a very big worry. It also brings back to thought the times of our elections. If you remember how the media was failed, it wasn't managed well, let me say that. And so much was flowing around on social media, even on TVs and radios, where we live in a society that is absent of apprehension for slander, for defamation, for lies, where everyone has the power to create and no one checks. You see, when this happened, if you remember in times of elections, actually even before elections, we have been hearing there's a Kirabo somewhere who attacks Priscilla on social media. She abuses Priscilla. And what we do is we laugh and applaud Robert. How msajavuma? Oyo mkazi, tumugendako. People, now.
So how do we counter the wrong information that
and
is
that's
being
what I'm
consumed?
saying. It came to politics. Same thing happened. Wrong what? Now it has come to matters of health. And it is the same thing. As someone who knows nothing about medical biology will sit there and tell you there's someone injecting you 5G, they are going to kill you after 1 year, and all of you are going to be dead when you do this, and it's supposed to be okay. We have not seen anyone being apprehended for this, because this is entirely, actually, if you remember what the president was saying, anyone who calls people to meet, that should be suicide. It can be called murder. But people are doing these things, and funny thing is that we don't see the ministries, the relevant bodies, we don't see even these the bodies, the security investigating any of these people. This should be one of the most for us to deal with stigma, the stereotype, and people with bad information, because you may not just ignore them, as a matter of fact, because as a practice, yes, you know that bad word runs faster than good. And because of the uncivilization, because of the primitivity of our community, by far, it is easy to play on their minds. You know this. When someone, can you imagine an old lady will tell you, now that lady has not been given an opportunity between the right information
and the wrong information,
because the only thing they hear about the right is happening is just mugende mwegemese COVID. That is all the radios are saying. Now this person is coming to say the wrong information, that no now there is so much out there that is against vaccination than that is there that is for the vaccination. I think that's something we must deal with to match up.
Well, that definitely will speak into the numbers that then get to turn out for the vaccinations, because one of the current challenges the National Medical Stores is being faced with is that some of these vaccines have expiry dates that are very, very close, and if not consumed within time, we may end up having wastage of resources than optimizing on the very resources that we have. In under a minute, what would that impact look like on the vaccination drive?
First, we've been getting a number of our vaccines from the COVAX facility. This is where we've been getting this free because of our absorption rate. And when I talk about absorption rate, I mean the capacity for us to use what we've been given. So that's why we've been one of the priority countries. That these rich countries, when they look at the excess, sometimes they have maybe what they can't complete in a period of time, then they send to us these vaccines because they know that we did not have we did not get them. Because, when COVID had just started, some countries went and booked beyond even what they need. So they get it, the absorption rate is low, and they have to send to a country like that. So this could be an hindrance on vaccination in our country. Because if it's proved that we cannot absorb then maybe they'll look at plan B that can absorb these drugs and then channel to that country because they want them to expire. So at a time when one makes up their mind, these people that are taking their time thinking, or at a time when we up our game of sensitization and ensure people now go for vaccines, we may not have vaccines. That is the impact.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your contribution. And on to a poll question where we want to find out from you, how can the private sector actually partner with the vaccination drive to ensure that each one of us as Ugandans can be able to get that? How can the private sector be engaged more in the vaccination drive? We want to hear from you in that regard. But as we get into the papers, just to remind you that the creation of the vaccines is here for your own safety and also for effective fight against the pandemic. I am very confident that none of us wants this pandemic here in the first place, and one of the ways to fight it in the quickest possible way here, at least in Uganda and globally, is to consume the vaccine for your own good, for my own good, so that our children can go back to school in a normal environment, so that our businesses can open 100%, because you do have the private sector, some of the businesses, companies, corporate or not corporate, opened up to 20%. We still have the arts and entertainment industry still under lockdown, among other sectors, all simply because we are not adhering to the call that is being put out by government to go for our vaccinations. It's one of the strongest weapons that we have against COVID-19 right now, and we'll definitely want you to get your jab so that we can achieve the president's target of the 4.8 trillion, but why not even the 45 million Ugandans fully vaccinated? Felix, we do have one comment coming in from one of our...
And of course, they come in to say all we need to do is publicize, mobilize and educate sector players about the good in vaccination. Many are, perturbed by the bad about vaccine in the public space. Now, this mindset should change. Kent Magic 100, there, Kent Chaze, one of our colleagues.
All right, thank you so much. We get to look at the dailies this morning. As of yesterday, the conversation of the bail has taken it black and bold for the papers this morning. Stay with us.
I smile when I think of you, Uganda, my home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda, my home. Oh, my Uganda.
I know, with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home.
At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial star 175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Ensuring you start your day an informed person is what we do, and this is the reason now we are serving you information from the print media, that is today's dailies. I have the New Vision, Felix has the Daily Monitor and the Daily Nation. A big headline there, life sentence must be life jail term. That is Museveni. That was yesterday during the Benedicto Kiwanuka Memorial Lecture there at the Judiciary Headquarters. And that is monument of Benedicto Kiwanuka after the memorial lecture yesterday, as we marked that the Ben Kiwanuka Day. And also still looking at the New Vision, we look at COVID, that is Uganda rolls out, that is a Pfizer vaccine, and of course they give you more where you can find this. A report on mothers that died during birth, that is 590 mothers died in labor since January. That is another big number and something to raise concern. Looking at the education bit of it in the New Vision, there is here they look at, that is a university guide for you. So if you're at university, there's something there for you. And of course, the New Vision still gives you 52 pages of special on that is embracing e-learning, why experts propose 3 semesters, how to get a student loan and where to get scholarship. And so much more is there in today's New Vision for you.
Now in the Daily Monitor, Museveni, Dolo clash over bail and debate rages as MPs are rearrested. Now law says bail is fundamental right, but also what president has said on bail since 2011. Now experts warn about erosion of rule of law. Of course, also in the papers, now Lito Nachimera, Miss Universe there in 2021, and government moves to control donor funds. But also, Mengo disowns a hotly contested Chambogo land. CID takeover to Mukunde's assault case. And of course, still in the Daily Monitor inside the papers, we'll be looking at government-owned student loan defaulters at workplaces. Mixed reactions over Egypt's plan to tax YouTube users. Now, from the archives, President Museveni commissioning the second production line at Crown Bottlers Limited in Kampala, that is in 1995. And today in history, UNDP hands over Aswa Ranch to government, that was in 73. And Fidel Castro permits Cubans to leave island, that is in 1965.
Back to the New Vision, we begin with a COVID-19 tracker where new confirmed cases stand at 64, positivity rate at 1.7%, death, 1 person succumbed to COVID-19. Total deaths so far for our country, Uganda, 3,146. And of course, we continue to advise you, please go for vaccination, because that is the only way we shall fight death and severe illness that ends up in hospital, which is hospitalization. Still looking at the New Vision, facts or myth regarding COVID-19. Are people of a certain blood type less severely affected by COVID-19, meaning there is no need for vaccination? Well, the experts answer that. And also we look at Uganda through 59 years of independence, the Independence Monument, what it was in 1962 and what it is today. But also, did you know that Sir Edward Mutesa II became Kabaka at the age of 16. Those are some of the facts the New Vision gives you. Of course, it also has the Kabaka Mutesa, the second coronation at Buddo, Nagalabi. That was in 1942.
Now in sports, Okello ready to make second South Korea stint count, and UEFA Champions League, Bellingham leads Dortmund. Now teenage English star Jude Bellingham, guided by mother, turns on Sporting tonight. Now Nasser eyes flying finish for ARC title, and Hasule gets the better of Kirunda. There, of course, where we saw the match yesterday. And of course, Lutalo, that is picks continuity, and NASA needs miracle in SCR charge. But of course, also Colt survives DQ scare to win third. That is a Breakstock leg. And NIC Weyonje, tame rival for top netball.
When it comes to the New Vision sport, there is so much regarding that is Hamilton at 100, then tactical genius. What are they referring to? We see that is the Star Times UPL 2021 All-Stars game. And of course, they bring you Simbwa, the All-Star coach, and Okello at Kepcho. But remember, Ruben will be here to give you all those interesting and updated stories in the world of sports. And of course, a conversation there for you and him, mostly when it comes to his social media platforms, and here where he can respond to many of your messages of the interesting stories in the arena of sports.
Now in the Daily Nation, ministers at center of Uhuru's succession there, Leadership and Integrity Act sets parameters within which public officers operate. And of course, reprieve as court blocks fuel tax. Now why Kenya is unable to roll out visa, they give you reasons there. And who killed them? 3 men, women retrieved from river. And of course, much of that is what we'll be getting. Also, Wanyama hangs up his boots from international assignments with Harambee Stars. Wow, that's a big blow for them as well. Now you can get yourself a copy of these papers if you want an insight of some of the stories we've been able to give you for the headlines. But what else is trending is how you'll be able to maneuver to the heart of this beautiful part of Africa with Priscilla Nalwoga.
People who are creatives, we kind of see things in a different perspective. There's this particular area here that looks like a hanger. You know, your clothing hanger where you put clothes, right? Anyway, it is the Chira Road or Chira Road Triangle, and we want to see the traffic and how it's actually stemming. Like in this particular area, you do have Chira Road connecting from Bukoto. You also do have the Bukoto Chisasi Road that brings in traffic, where you do have the Kabera Country Club, and a sneak peek into that particular straight all the way into Chisasi. You get to see that you do have some orange zones, but only at cross-section roads is where you have orange zones. Elsewhere, the road is actually clear for you to use. We do have Mukalazi Road that brings you and connects you to Old Kira Road. So if you don't want to go through the traffic jam that is brought about by the traffic lights and the many people on the road right now on the Bukoto Chisasi Road, maybe you can use Mukalazi Road, which will bring you right onto Old Kira Road, and that way you would have gone through that traffic jam. But of course, you will have to interface with the Cheba and Salo Road equally, that takes in a lot of traffic for residentials in these particular areas of Bukoto getting into the heart of the city. Orange zones show that the traffic may be flowing. It's just a little bit slower than you would want to imagine it. You also do have Moyo Close, which is a back route connecting you from Old Kira Road or from Kamocha, and it takes you either to the Bukoto Chisasi Trading Center, or it can actually still connect you to Mukalazi Road. And the red zone here is simply because at one point the potholes have eaten on either side of the road. So it shows you the red zone, not because there's so many cars, but it has to be literally in some of these sharp corners. It has to be one car at a go from either direction. And so it slows traffic down, yet many people use it as an alternative route. And also, given the fact that there's an international school right here, the international school also having students going to school also will bring in the traffic that you are seeing there. Away from that, onto the hanger-struck triangle of Old Kira Road and lining with the Kira Road, you get to see that on Kira Road, traffic directly coming in from Bukoto Ntinda is actually a mountful. You do have orange red zones. Obviously, we might have the traffic lights contributing to this, but also the fact that there's so many vehicles, indicators that probably 3 to 4 lanes is what we are talking about of that traffic trying to enter into the heart of the city. Ideally, it would be taking the Chira Road into Wandegea or past Acacia Mall, and that traffic definitely is going to be building up around to Cementi area, where you do have a roundabout that has been designed sort of to make the place look better, but in terms of traffic management, I think it's done more harm than good in controlling the traffic from Cementi, traffic from Mawanda Road, and also traffic on the direct route. Following Lugogo bypass this morning, we get to see how it's connecting to the other side of Lugogo South in terms of traffic. For the bypass, you wouldn't be expecting much jam. It's an alternative route. But when it comes to the area of Lugogo South, where you do have Gem, and then we get into Nakawa, now there you do have the red zones showing up simply because of the traffic lights that manage the flow of traffic for people coming in from the Lugogo area and also interfacing with the main road. Into Nakawa this morning, you would be expecting some jam here at the trading center, but you only have one-way traffic that is building up, and that's for traffic that is coming in directly from Spear Motors onto the Kampala Jinja Highway and at the Nakawa traffic lights right now. And obviously, because it's traffic lights, the red zone means that traffic coming in from Nakawa has been put on a pause, and yet it should be flowing, because ideally the traffic on the opposite direction is actually in green and it shows that it's moving. But still be notified of that. It may take you more minutes, about 20 minutes off your scheduled time. A sneak peek into moves where you do have Newport Bay Road. You do have orange lines on either side around Moob's main gate. You do have orange lines that are coming through, and these are because now people are using Chwatu Road, other people are using Ismail Road to actually connect from other parts of Chireka and come into Newport Bay Road, and also be able to use those as shortcuts to either connect into Bugolobi or other areas. And so this part here is also going to be troublesome in terms of jam and slow you down. The other area that we are seeing is picking up a lot of traffic is the area around Silver Springs and Port Bell Road still. Now this traffic is actually stretching all the way from Chireka Road, but also it is stretching all the way from Port Bell Road, and it's showing you that on either side it's actually moving very, very slowly. The expectation is that you do have traffic officers in the area to manage the flow of traffic, but then also it shows that there's something particularly happening in between here, because if we are to continue into Bugolobi, it is a clear stretch. The ideal would be that if it was completely traffic, then it would be stretching all the way into Bugolobi Market, but if it's not, then there's something that is happening here that is not supposed to be happening. So please have those as your guidelines into the day as you're coming from those particular area codes. I'll look into the poll question and your responses. We do have a response here. Good morning, Uganda, a place of my heart. Not all private sectors, all people, we need to be careful on COVID-19. Okay, all right. It shouldn't be only private sectors that should be placed with the burden of helping government achieve the vaccination drive campaign that we are on currently. Another response comes in and says government should have private-public partnerships with players in the private sector, thus a private-public partnership. Government should also restrict members of the public when moving to public spaces to make with their vaccination certificates. Oh, that's an interesting one. Government should also be committed to make a media and on-ground vaccination drive to bring people on board as regards vaccinations and highlight the advantages of being vaccinated. This is James Odeke from Mutungo, Bina, an area that we almost just looked at in terms of traffic. Another respondent here, thanks for the show. I'm Jesh Yusuf from Kanungu. Let those people in relationship trust one another for a long marriage. That was in regards to a 6 o'clock hour conversation. But in regards to the vaccination drive, leaders should enhance on mobilizing people and show allocations of vaccinating centers, because still now they do not know where to access the drug. That is true. That confusion, if you say that you're vaccinating from health center 2 and then a person goes there today and they didn't find it there, they're demoralized to actually go back and find out if it came the next day. Good morning, Felix, Priscilla, Robert and Molin. Private sectors should make it mandatory for their employees to receive vaccination jabs each, because according to statistics they employ almost 90% of Ugandans. If they make it a must for their workers, believe me, in just a month over 20 million people will already be vaccinated. This is Derek Cricket from Matinde. Well, thank you so much, Derek Cricket from Matinde. And finally, good morning, Uganda. The private sector can help in vaccination exercise through having the public well sensitized about the positives of vaccination as opposed to the current propaganda about the drugs. Those public figures should be used as role models to encourage the Wananchi. LC1s, bishops, imams should be brought on board and they should act as role models. Sergeant Bernard does give us his 2 cents. Well, thank you, Sergeant Bernard, for your contribution, and to every one of you that has contributed to our poll question this morning. We highly regard your views, and we trust that they're going to be put into consideration to the stakeholders that are tuned in equally to Good Morning Uganda. But as you're continuing with Good Morning Uganda, we want to let you know about the insects that are expected to be extinct in a few years if not well taken care of in terms of nature. Good morning to you once again, Molen.
Good morning to you, Priscilla. And I guess still the question that should be asked right now is, when was the last time you actually saw a butterfly? And I saw actually some comments that were coming in from people over social media. Is it a question of where are these, or have we done something to actually scare them off? Priscilla, when was the last time you actually saw one?
That's a very, very good question. I have not seen a butterfly in a long time. So, yeah, you could have a point there to make.
And it's not just butterflies. We have had insects that are disappearing. And I can tell you one thing, we've had insects colonizing land long before. For over 400 million years, these insects have been on planet Earth, moving from all the way from the oceans, from all over the world. They always have that freedom of movement. But for now, we're saying that that could be in jeopardy, looking at how environmental issues are coming in, and those have jeopardized their places of feeding, their places of location where they actually go. So this is in turn posing a threat to the likelihood of having some species extinct, or even have them migrate to different places. Well, we've had a report coming in from The Guardian this morning, and also more from BBC, talking about the same, looking at some of these insects that have been migrating around, but seems like no one is able to see them even for now. Now, it's not just butterflies, also for bees and different other species of insects, looking at what science is describing as over 300,000 different types of beetles alone, also looked at as some of those animals that have seemed to be disappearing from the face of the earth. Now, it is kind of peculiar actually looking at what the world could be seeing in terms of these tiny creatures disappearing from our planet. Now, we do know that especially butterflies, they do move in search of nectar. Even bees, they are dependent mostly on pollination. But in a world where we're looking at even the use of pesticides, even the use of mostly fertilizers. We look at all our planting and agriculture practices that have caused most of these to migrate away. But also in search of what is favorable for them in terms of environment, they end up disappearing or even find worse conditions, and they cannot survive the stretch of that. So if we look at one of the reports that was done recently from UK and also the USA, they've looked at almost flying insects declining by 76%. 76% in the last 26 years. That is already huge. Looking at what we could actually be doing for this time, I know my suggestion is for us to actually look into why is this happening and what can we do to stop this. Now, first of all, we look at what are the weather conditions that are favorable for these insects? What are they looking for, and why is it that they are constantly migrating away from what is familiar to them? Well, first of all, yes, there is a climate crisis. We talk about the use of pesticides, we talk about the use of different agricultural practices, but most importantly, we look at where we have gone wrong in terms of maintaining our climate. Now, we've seen dinosaurs disappear, and if we are talking about species that have lived way before dinosaurs, I think we could also take into consideration that we could have another case of dinosaurs. Like Priscilla and I were saying, if you haven't seen a butterfly in a long time, there are higher chances that even the rest of Ugandans are not seeing this. Now, the report from UK is showing 26 years, 76%. We need to also look into the fact that that could be happening even here in Uganda. Now, what we do know is that we've had a lot of plant cover, vegetation cover deplete due to climate extremes. We've had most of the bees now, what we are calling the colonizing species that have, or invading species that have come to take on most of these areas that are familiar to our local breeds or our local species of butterflies. Now, if they've had these invading species come and take on their locations, the only way they can cope is actually also migrate to different areas. But where they are migrating, they are not even sure that this is going to be favorable for them. So they end up going to places that are actually not even favorable, and that is how we are losing species of different insects, the beautiful ones actually. So I think this is something that we also need to look into when we are considering climate extremes. They're not just affecting humans, but also things around us. We did look at a story about animals that are also on the verge of disappearing, and one of those we looked at the African elephants, the rhinos, and more of the mountain gorillas. But now we also look at what insects are declining. So I think it is about time we look at this emergency and already get going on the action. And like I said earlier, this comes at a good time when we're looking at all eyes on the Glasgow conference. What is going to be done in terms of climate actions for different countries, not just the countries that are party to the conference, but we also have, I'm happy that we have a delegation from Uganda, some of the things that we should be tackling on what can be done about climate change. What are we looking at? Are we going to be adapting? Is there a way we can go to the mitigation, make sure that there is a cut in these emissions that are actually trapping heat within the atmosphere? Well, talking about the atmosphere, we want to look at what is happening over the skies of Uganda this morning. Now, from our satellites, we can see that most areas are actually clear, showing very clear skies, and that means sunny conditions across much areas within Uganda. We're looking at the Karamoja region. That area is already having mostly sunny conditions. We do have a rain system that has started to form, that is across the Choga region. Looking at places of Serere Sorority, that area did start off with rainy conditions early this morning, and that is starting to clear, but also extending all the way to the eastern side of Lake Choga region. And that is where we expect that rain system to proceed to, looking at the deep red colors, the green and the blue. We also have one that started off from Jinja, that area across Tororo, that is the eastern part of Lake Victoria Basin. Now that system is already on the move and headed towards the central part of Lake Victoria Basin. That is already bringing rains across parts of Jinja, and we're seeing it develop more, where you're seeing the red, green continue to develop. It is actually headed headed for Kampala areas across Mukono, Buyukwe. That area should expect to have a little bit of rains as the day progresses. Now, most areas within the southwestern parts of Uganda actually having very clear skies, mostly sunny conditions. We do also see some of the clouds that are starting to develop across the northwestern part of the country. We did start off with mostly cloudy weather, that is across central North Gulu, that area still across Arua, Yumbe. You can expect to have those clouds develop more, and they will be bringing in rains later as the day progresses. Already across Amuru, having mostly cloudy conditions. There were a little bit of showers, but that system has already started to clear. Now the system that is still active in terms of wet weather conditions is the one across Soroti and Kabila Maido as we speak, having rains. Then there is also one that is coming from Napak, developing now, but mostly causing cloudy conditions. The rest of the area seems to actually be picking up in terms of cloudy conditions. But we are also seeing a clearing trend towards central North, Kitgum, Padel, Gulu. That area still having mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions and likely to continue that way throughout the morning. We will go ahead and take a look at our forecast for the rest of the areas across the country, but we are already seeing that system developing across eastern Uganda, bringing in rains for Serere, Soroti and Kabila Maido. Well, we start off with the western part of Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Masaka. We do expect to start off with those rains that are headed your way, and temperatures will be at 26 degrees Celsius. Now looking at southwestern Uganda, we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Boshenyi, Rubirizi. We're forecasting mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, already having a sunny skies over there, starting off with a warm 26 degrees centigrade. More eastern parts of Mount Elgon Highlands, we do have Mbale, we have Bududa, Sironko. That area already starting to develop clouds. We do expect rains to come in later as the morning progresses, starting off at a pleasant 26 degrees Celsius. We look at the eastern side of Lake Victoria Basin, Tororo, Iganga, Busia, Jinja already having those rains, and they are in the forecast for the entire morning. But we do look at quite a warm morning, starting off at 27 degrees centigrade. We expect those to rise just slightly because of those rains. Now, eastern parts of central, we have Ruero, we have Wobolenzi, we have Nakaseke. That area is forecasted to also have rains as the day progresses, starting off at a warm 27 degrees centigrade. Well, looking at central northern Uganda, we have Gulu, Kitgum, Padel and Jumani. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off at 27. We do expect rains to develop though later in the afternoon. You can look out for that, and temperatures expected to heat in the 30s. Now, central Lake Victoria Basin, we do have those clouds already moving in. Those will be bringing us rains across parts of Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso, starting off with a maximum of 26 degrees centigrade for this morning across that area. And we're still actually seeing even some of the islands over Lake Victoria that are having rainy conditions, starting off from Kalangala. Most of the islands within the lake have already started to clear up. We have mostly cloudy conditions, but also that might continue into the afternoon. So do look out for rainy conditions that might be coming from that area, especially towards the western part of Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have parts of Masaka already having rains in the forecast. Well, I want to leave you at that, but coming up we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda. Robert will be here to take you through that. We also have sports, and Ruben is ready to go through that with you. My name is Molin Kenyana. I want to wish you a blessed Tuesday.
I smile when I think of you, Uganda, my home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda, my home. Oh, my Uganda.
I know with you I'll always stay forever. I know
MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV value. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
At exactly 5 minutes past the hour of 8, welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Once again, I'm Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono, and on this very day, we're going to be discussing an issue that we know concerns everybody, that is the education sector, and how they are prepared to reopen, having been given clear requirements for the education sector to resume, among which is full vaccination of teachers, and in these communities, the elderly also should have gotten vaccinated. We know that tertiary institutions will open in October if these circumstances have been met, and then we expect the rest by January to have opened. With me in studios to discuss this is the Acting General Secretary, that is the Private Teachers Union, Mwajuma, that is Mwamura Juma, with whom I'm with, a teacher by profession, but also a person who is so passionate when it comes to issues regarding the profession of teaching, but also ensures that they work in unity to ensure that they avert some of these challenges facing the profession at such a time. We must recall that about 15 million Ugandans are school going, and one of the challenges has been them being home because of the pandemic. Wajuma, you're most welcome to our studios this morning.
Thank you, Brother Kirabo. Thank you, everybody out there. Good morning, and good morning to you.
Well, every time I host you, one thing that comes to my mind is the plight of teachers at such a time.
Sure.
More so, that is the private teachers.
Sure.
Because those on government payroll still earn something. But for the private teachers, it is really a trying moment at such a time. How are you handling this situation as a union? Briefly.
As a union, the option is largely to intensify advocacy. Because what is true about the situations around lives of the teachers is that since March 2020, a number of us have gone without any substantive income in people's pockets. And therefore that tells how much people are living in pain. to live a life where you're expected to be spending on a daily basis in terms of your eating, in terms of your housing and all other expenses, but then you do not have an avenue for income, for revenue. It poses a bigger challenge. So generally, it is survival through the day. The Baganda say, "Beranga nkoko ya mtamivu obala lucha." The life is that a number of our colleagues are really counting on the day to go, such that they can see the next day, they can see the next week, and so on and so forth. But I'm also so glad, especially upon some of us, some of the teachers who have thought of other alternative means. I must confess that we have quite a sizable number of people now who have gone into other areas of survival. We see teachers laying bricks, we see teachers doing some petty businesses here and there for purposes of being able to go through the hard times. So all that is happening. Over time, we have been put onto promises that have not come to pass. Like you may recall that sometime last year, 2020, we had a presidential pledge. And that presidential pledge, at the time when it came, the news was received with a lot of excitement. We thought all now is going to be well, even when we are not earning. But I must tell you that it has remained into pledges. The payment has remained in circles, especially around officials at the ministries, in the government. And so up to today, no single teacher has benefited of that pledge that was given. We are disheartened that maybe when it finally comes, it will come when teachers are already out of the problem, and that in itself will not serve the core purpose. Because somehow we need to have, we needed to express that passion, the feel that we really care for people who are in need. And that was the spirit the president used when he saw teachers were suffering. He said, let me help them with this. But now it has turned into something else. Maybe we shall give them when they're already in class. But still,
talking about that money, that is about 20 billion.
Sure.
It must be a talk for another day, because you're opening a tin of worms right now. There is so much disappointments there. There is so much that maybe is just under the carpet that we may not unearth in this short time we have. So let's just stick to our topic today, which is reopening of schools. We saw the president address the nation, and one of the things that was very clear, and has always been clear, that teachers must get vaccinated. We need teachers vaccinated. We need non-teaching staff or support staff vaccinated to have schools reopen, because we know this will fight severe illness, this will fight death and hospitalization. COVID will be something it's like normal that someone can live with and don't go to those extremes. How have you embraced this?
Well, first of all, is to acknowledge that as teachers now, as the practitioners in private education sector, we are aware that COVID is here, COVID is deadly, and it is very expensive to maintain, especially in situations where our people's incomes are really very wanting. So we are aware of that. And because we are aware of that, we are concerned that even when we ask for reopening, we are asking for safe reopening. So what schools have done is something that started with the teachers themselves, is to embrace the call for immunization. We are aware the government has put forward a program for immunizing its population, and gladly teachers have been counted as the priority list groups of people. So wherever chance has been of availability of vaccines, the teachers have rushed to immunizing centers, and indeed a number of them have gotten the jab, even when not all of them. And why not all of them is because the supply of the jab has been a little low compared to the teachers who are available. That has been the only thing. Otherwise, in terms of will, in terms of commitment, in terms of going to seek for where they can get the job from, teachers have been there. Then even our schools, our institutions themselves have tried to put forward some infrastructure that really indicate readiness to that cause. For instance, if you visit most of the private schools around, you would realize that first of all, the owners and the managers of those schools are doing all commitments possible to make preparations in terms of securing entry to school premises either by putting temporary or permanent faces around and therefore one single entry point. The essence of that is that you are able to control the inflow and outflow, and therefore you can monitor people's temperatures, because we know temperature here is one of the indicators for that COVID stuff, and so many other things. So I must confess that as teachers, as school premises, we are putting forward efforts. The other thing I need to tell you, actually, that even relates to my dressing code. For instance, you see me in black, which is the indicative of mourning and so on and so forth, is that today we speak about the reopening almost as a post-mortem, because the high expectation from us has been that this should have come earlier.
The reopening should have come earlier. Actually, being told that we are going to reopen next year in a way is a form of disappointment, and therefore we have some bit of grief to that effect. Reason is we had not met the circumstances that are required. We need fully vaccinated teachers, and we know teachers are passionate about your students. So teachers must be vaccinated. Students above 18 years, that is, I think, from senior, that is A-level, basically. If you look at our education calendar, the years 6 years you're in P1, so in culture that may be about those in A-level must be vaccinated, and maybe universities. So you talked about safe reopening, and we had not vaccinated fully. Also, we still had challenges in ensuring that actually even the non-teaching staff, we're talking about teachers, but also
no, really, that vaccination process was taking everybody who work with the school. So even non-teaching staff would be accommodated. But the issue is the vaccines that were available then were not enough. And now, why we say we are mourning and that we cannot just say we now guarantee we'll have it come next year is because there is no guarantee that by next year we shall have had a full uptake of the vaccination, because it is dependent on availability of the jab. But also one very disturbing thing that brings us a sense of mourning is when even in the process that we have been told next year we are going to reopen, again the minister comes about to issue an instruction that schools registration are going to be revoked. You and me know that schools have minimum requirements before they can operate. And one of the very basic minimum requirement is legal status, which is either possession of a license or a registration. And now when you revoke the registration, it means all schools in the whole of the country are going to be deemed non-existing. Until they get fresh certificates is when now they will have the legality to continue operating.
And this is targeting the private sector, basically.
And this is purely for private schools.
Private.
Private schools. The registration process here, first of all, is assumed to be free, even under normal circumstances. But I must make a confession that all schools, wherever they are, have spent in millions to access licenses and registrations. So we need to understand that, and therefore when you say we are going to have a fresh registration, it means you're going to put people into thinking of a fresh expense to acquire those new certificates.
Reasons
where is the money
Juma, is one,
in a situation where people are already
have shifted location. Maybe they were in, now we have municipalities where location has shifted. Some schools are no longer in existence, so they need to update their database. That is one of the things they're looking at, that you'll find a school is now maybe a hotel or someone bought it and it's an arcade or something like that.
That is very true. Others have been taken over by banks and perhaps turned into something else.
So they give these reasons and they say, let's ensure now. And also they believe that those that are going to mushroom with the reopening of schools, yet at such a time, you need to have an effective database to have effective monitoring of the schools that are present.
That is very true. But I believe that we are pursuing a long and expensive route. Because if we want to identify where a school X is located, first of all, in terms of physical location, the school will have never changed. Well, the name of the place may change now from a village either to a ward or to a division or a city, but in terms of physical location, it will still remain the same place. So that is the issue one. The other thing is the details of schools' ownership, schools' location, maybe it is now a new city and so on and so forth. does not in itself call for a fresh registration. Rather, what the ministry would ask for is status report. Because each individual head of an institution, each individual owner of a school does know the issues around his school. He knows that from now on, this place is no longer a town council, it is now a municipality. Therefore, he can be able to report on that. That becomes very easy for the owners of the school, other than being taken through the pain of fresh registrations as is being required. But also it becomes so easy for the Ministry of Education, because this person will only make a report on the basis of a template that the Ministry can even provide. Submit that report either through offices of DEOs, and therefore right at the level of the district DEO offices, the database is created, which database is then linked to the national database at the Ministry of Education and Sports. That also saves this hard kind of concentration to do that mass registration. Let me tell you one thing, for example. When we are registering schools, primary, pre-primary to primary schools are registered at district levels. Then secondary schools are registered centrally. In Uganda, we have close to 17,000 schools, over 17,000 private schools. And now talking about 17,000 schools being handled within now and perhaps the time when we are going for a new open up is something not imagined, not possible. There is no record time that can permit us to do that. So clearly, we are taking a route that would take us into a new reopening when some schools are not really made to operate.
Let's look at some of these decisions, involvement. Many of the times I wonder, I believe the teaching profession is an organized profession.
It should be.
That is what I want to believe.
It should be.
Everyone, we know teachers, organized, people that keep time. Why do we see that most of the things affecting the education sector seem to be a gap of involvement? Even when you talk about vaccination, when you talk about, for example, your money, the hotel teachers are disorganized. There is a way we find this a shame to the profession.
I am glad you note the issue is a gap of involvement, and I think this is done very deliberately by some people, perhaps to be able to make personal scores. Like, for instance, on issues of money, I think some officials at one time wanted to do a micromanagement, perhaps for purposes of reaping from it, even when it was meant for the ordinary teachers. But now,
come to vaccination. Why would you tell? We would believe teachers could understand, because they're teaching. They understand the benefit of vaccination. We shouldn't have issues like no job, no job. Now someone comes and says, if you're not being vaccinated, you're not going to get your October salary somewhere, some official somewhere. We wouldn't expect this in our teaching profession. We expect you to understand things better. You know, you're more exposed. Teachers read, teachers research. Why would we have the first lady blow a trumpet for about months there? Please go and get vaccinated. We have special places for you to be vaccinated. Why should we have these within such a noble profession?
Glad when you put the blowing of trumpet by First Lady. Just a few days ago, one education officer in the Amulata district was making a confession that teachers had refused to go for vaccination. Now, those are some of the few isolated cases that are happening. And the cause is only one thing, that whatever comes from the government, even if it is for the good of the teachers, has always come as an instruction and an order. In this era, management is better by involvement. But for you to sit back and think you're going to think of something so good and you're just imposing it onto people, people may make different interpretations. So what we are seeing is that unnecessary resistance. Actually, what we have seen already are some people, because of that desperate clause of no job, so people are desperately now going to merely get the certificate, but not the job itself. You see that? Those are all risks. So going forward is a call we have as representatives of teachers' voices that the Ministry of Education and Sports, as a matter of approach, should consider effective involvement of stakeholders on whatever development that they want to bring on board. When they are considering making improvement in registration certificates for schools, please involve people. Let people know So they appreciate, and it will be themselves now to carry this forward. If you think we need everyone teacher to have to be immunized, involve them, let them have the conviction. Right now, at the inception, when immunization had just started, a number of teachers were hesitant until the First Lady came out and said, no jab, no job. Now, people flocked to the immunization centers, not because they were convinced, but because they were conditioned by the call that if you do not get a jab, you will not get the job. So that kind of forcing, one, has driven some people here to go and get the job. That is so good. But I must also tell you that it is going to preempt people to also get certificates when actually they have not gotten the immunization. And that is very risky. So for me, going forward is that Ministry of Education and Sports should reconsider its approach and among others intensify on its mode of involving the players. Players are the teachers, both government and private, and their representatives are the owners of the schools, because the government itself owns the government schools, but we also have a bigger bunch of
chunk that is for private individuals
and private individuals who should be involved in some of these.
Well, let me remind our viewer that you can be part of this topic of discussion by simply going on your phone and send us a message. That is on our WhatsApp number, which is on your screen, 0709 60 25 92. 0709 60, that is 2592, and we'll be responding to most of your concerns. Mwamula, it's not only vaccination, but also we have SOPs. When remember after the first wave, there was partial opening in a staggered manner. But one of the things we didn't perfect as a country was SOPs.
Sure.
That we ended up having many students infected with COVID-19. And a report by, that is UNESCO, I think, proved that many of the deaths that occurred actually were from students who returned home with COVID-19 and infected those that were very vulnerable with comorbidities. I think that is why His Excellency said that another condition must be that even the elder in those communities are vaccinated to the latter. How prepared are you in terms of pushing for these SOPs? We know after commercialization of education, now it's profit-oriented.
Yeah, that is very true. Education is profit-oriented. And you see, it has a close bearing with what we have just discussed. One is, in the first wave, the large number of infections were brought because people continued to have myths, to have misconceptions about COVID itself. I must tell you that when COVID just came in here, at one time people had a lot of thinking, including imagining that perhaps it was a political kind of agenda. Because we saw campaigns were conducted, some people even defied the rules and were having mass campaigns around, and so it was not imaginable for schools to imagine that they have to be so strict about it. So eventually, conditions surged. But as we speak now, students, teachers, and owners of schools have really noted that COVID is here. Every one of us has seen a case of a death, has seen a case of a sickness, and therefore we already have that natural fear within us. The protection we are doing is not because we are being forced, but it is simply because we are aware that we are at a risk. So, today, even when people are operating schools for profit purposes, they are sensitive that they are better off operating safely. That is why school owners, private school owners at this moment are even willing to forego part of their population by approving partial reopening. School owners are set to accept that a school that has a total class of about 6, maybe from senior 1 to senior 6, can accommodate even if a half of that population in a manner of partial reopening. The owners of schools, the teachers ourselves, are advocating that we could have half of the school in school, half of the school population. The purpose of that is, first of all, to make sure that the facilities that are available at the school premise are utilized by a smaller number of people. And therefore, issues of spacing, issues of other SOPs can be implemented. That has come into our conscience. Previously, people would not do that. Actually, in the first phase, when the government asked for partial reopening, if you went to primary schools at a time when they were allowing P7 to be there and be able to do their exams, we even had these other lower classes in school. Because the people did not have the conviction, did not have the understanding of the real problem. As we speak now, people appreciate that problem. But even then, it is government's role to do inspections, to enforce compliance. So we think talking about safe reopening is also asking that the government asserts itself to do effective follow-up on compliance, effective supervision, such that things are done in a manner that are expected to be done.
Well, we'll be reading some of your messages. Please keep them coming on the topic of discussion, which is reopening of schools. How can schools adjust to deliver as required? Remember, vaccination is one of the issues we're looking at, and that is for the teachers, non-teaching staff, students above 18 years, and of course, a percentage of members of the community, most of the elderly there. So how do we ensure that come January next year, this we've been able to achieve? How do we ensure that even students not only report back, but they report back to safe environments for learning? This is safe schools, meaning safe reopening. I'm with, that is the secretary, that is of the union that brings together private teachers in this country, and we are trying to see how best they can push this. Message here coming in, GMU, the private sector can help vaccination exercise through having the public. Well, thanks for the show. Regarding schools adjustment, there is need for maximum collaboration between the different stakeholders on school registration. I think it is a good move, and school owners should embrace it. Private schools are good, but some of them do the opposite and don't want to adhere to government directives on reopening. Some schools were having other classes when only P7 and P6 were opened. We need huge compliance, Sergeant Bernard. Sergeant Bernard there.
Sergeant Bernard is spot on. It's exactly what we just noted. And you see that all came because people were not appreciative enough. They did not understand the gravity of the problem.
They were aiming at maximization of profits.
They could have been aiming at maximization of profits, but also there was that lack of conviction that this is a threat. As we speak, now there is a high conscience about the same, but also it is the government's role really to ensure compliance, just like one of the colleagues there said. Now, the other thing, talking still about the reopening, we have gone through a lot. One, as school owners, as teachers, as learners, and of course the general public. That means that even when we are planning for reopening, it cannot be an ordinary kind of reopening. We need a set of other lines of preparation activities for us to be set for real learning. The learners today, who were about 10, 11, 12 years, are coming back to school as mothers and fathers. The way you would handle a father must be very different from what you imagine you would do to a child. Fine is a child, but is a child mother. And therefore, when you want to ask him or her, why is late, you must know that beyond him, he has responsibilities at home. Somebody has possibly been holding him and so on. So the preparations that we're making right now have to have a connotation to that. That requires for psychosocial support, especially the teachers, for them to adjust and appreciate that now, whereas you were the big man in your own class previously before COVID, it is coming to a time when there are even other people who are bigger than you. Because what is happening here is the average size, the average age of our teachers is really still low. You find it is probably 30 years. And sometimes you find the teacher of 30 has not yet gotten married, therefore has no child.
Yet there is a parent.
But now within your class, there is a parent who is probably a parent of 2 or so.
Let me read another message coming in. I'm from Nachi Valley. Thank you so much for watching. And it says, I wish all teachers to get vaccinated before they resume school. Here at Nachi Valley, some of us got first dose and the second dose. We sincerely thank our government. Here we love Good Morning Uganda program. And okay, thank you so much, and thanks for the show. We get that, and thank you for mobilizing people to get vaccinated. We as private teachers are supposed to get vaccinated so that they can reopen. Okay, I didn't get your name, but at least location. That is from Nachivale.
I think that is all agreeable. And indeed, we want to use this opportunity to call on to ourselves, to call on to all the teachers wherever they are. Please go and get vaccinated. Gladly, we are continuing to have batches of vaccines coming in. So let us use that opportunity, that when it comes close to your school, when it comes close to your area of stay, take the time, go get the jab. That is for your own sake. It is something very important that we want to invite on to everybody. I was making a point about the preparing the mind of people. First of all, is for them to be able now to handle a new population that is going to be before us. Such a group of learners who are parents, who are entrepreneurs, who already have several other engagements outside the class. Because as we speak now, even those who have not parented, who have not gotten children, have maybe economic engagements here.
And some have learned the power of money.
They have learned the power of money. And therefore, how they are going to conduct themselves in your classes, in your schools, is definitely going to be very different.
Very different. Mwamura, let me end with this message. Good morning, Robert. Indeed, it's a shame for teachers to refuse vaccination, yet they have partly contributed to the delay of opening of schools due to delayed, yet there are the very ones complaining about government to reopen schools. Do let them hurry. Otherwise, if by next year the percentage needed won't be achieved, the president will extend, hence no complainants. That is Lydia from Mbale. So, do it or else
Lydia's statement is something so big to reflect on. It is something we need now to look at holistically in terms of the education sector. You know, education is not merely for purposes of benefiting the teacher and the school owner, but it's a national good that is for me and you and the entire Uganda that we live in. Now, talking about non-uptake of the vaccines and therefore the possibility that we may not be reopened come January is another thing that gives us another worry. Because indeed it may happen. Like I've just said in Amulata, teachers are still hesitant. It can happen elsewhere. It could be that by the time we come to January, we have not gotten 100%. Now what next? For us, we are saying that whereas those can happen, we need education. We need education for purposes of the future of our children. We need education for purposes of our education.
If it's not safe,
we need actually safe education for purposes of our Uganda. Look at a situation where we are graduating a lot of people whose competencies are really lacking. What kind of workers are they going to be in future? For me, I come from the trade union, and part of the biggest issue that I've been grappling with is the issue of productivity. The output of an individual when he's given a task. And Uganda's, one of the biggest problems for Uganda has been rotating about our capacities, our productivity as a nation. You see that? It has even stifled our realization of this national program agenda and so on and so development program agenda and so on and so forth. So we need education to be able to build our human resource. And that is why for the teachers, get vaccines. But also for the government, consider the fact that we should have immediate, safe reopening.
Well, I want to thank you so much. That is Mwamura Juma, General Secretary, Uganda Private Teachers Union, for having found time. And thank you so much for keeping the messages coming in. So many we couldn't read in the interest of time, but thank you so much. Really appreciate your contribution towards this show. Very important is, yes, we need education, but it must be safe education. We urge all teachers, we urge all Ugandans, let's go and get these jabs, because for your own benefit, then later, for us as all. God bless you. Have a lovely day. I'll leave you with Ruben to take you through the world of sports. Good morning.
Senok Uganda Limited, in partnership with the Uganda Chamber of Mines and